From atop the mound, I estimated I could reach the summit of the second hill in about 3 days. Not wanting to spend that much time with him, I set off at first light, planning to do it in 2. Walking down the mound, my pace was powered by gravity and determination. I paid little attention to the terrain gradually changing from lush green vegetation to a dried out grassland. Likewise, the sky too was slowly shifting to a perfect blue, devoid of any clouds. Only once it hit noon and the unyielding sun directly above caused me to take pause did I realize I had reached what I could only assume was the halfway point between the 2 hills. Since then, however, I have made no progress. Sparse dead trees dot this arid landscape, granting minimal shade, forcing me to wear my hood for cover. This shields my face from burning, but adds heat to my frustration. As I walk, the scenery continues to change. New trees become visible in the distance, and I'm able to walk up to them, but my distance to the second hill remains the same. Always just a few days' walk towards the horizon. Tall, dry grass dominates this area, concealing horrors beneath their calming dance with the wind. No sound of life exists here, none except the low hum of hundreds of insects buzzing over corpses.
Ha! These 2 losers are still holding hands.
A crude, rough voice announces some distance behind me.
Damn! What a grip!
I hear a distinct pop and tear as he digs into another feast. Insects disturbed by his movements fly away to pester me, focusing in on my ears, nose, and eyes. Swatting them away only adds irritation to my already sweaty, frustrated state, and my thoughts have begun to deteriorate.
He'll be even you soon, when you fail.
I slap my face, killing a mosquito. I've noticed my negative thoughts growing louder in this place. I'd put my anger into walking faster, but that's a fruitless endeavour. I can't even tell exactly how long I've been trapped here, as the day has been locked since midday, causing time to appear stuck. I feel like I've been going for days now, maybe even weeks, but with no sunset or rises, I can't be sure. I haven't slept, eaten, or even defecated since arriving at this point, so I have no markers of time passing at all, but I can feel it. Time is slipping, and I'm not moving. The only things thriving in this hell are the insects and him. With all of these dead bodies, presumably fellow travelers like me, he's been gorging himself on failed dreams.
Ooh, I found a puppy.
He calls out. I know what will happen next, and I'm just glad I'm far enough away that I won't be able to see.
Hey, you could eat this one, right? Look, I'll rip it in half to share.
I pick up the pace, putting as much distance as I can between me and his meal when I hear him laugh.
Ah, this one's still alive. Hey, hold still.
The sound of a cry stops me in my tracks. Then without looking, I point my gun swiftly in his direction and fire. Like a sudden clap of thunder, the moment is broken. Silence washes over the land before the sound of a wet tap and a grunt starts the next instant. Then finally, a heavy drop. Insects resume their buzzing. Then something scurries off to safety. I hear him rise to his feet and yell,
Never gets old, outcast.
My blood boils. It's time for some venting. I double back in his direction, still gripping my gun firmly, ready to halt any attempt to flee. As I grow closer, I see the back of his ugly head start to turn. As soon as our eyes meet, a large hole appears in his forehead, followed by yet another clap of gunfire. This will only stun him temporarily though, and I rush to closer distance. I unclip my sword from my back and it pierces the ground with a thud. Rotating myself, I grab it with both hands and channel all of my anger into force. Launching it over my shoulder, I jump for extra momentum just as he rises to his feet. My blade connects with his skull and passes through without resistance. Likewise with his spine and hips as I carve him in two. My sword hits the ground so hard that rock and dirt kick up in a plume before his body slumps to either side, dispersing the dust. Again, peace returns to this nightmare as he lies motionless on the ground. Forcing my eyes to stay open, I extend this pleasure for as long as I can. His stench and entrails attract more insects. Still unblinking, a fly lands on my cheek and makes its way towards my eye. My arms, too shaken by my outburst, refuse to move from my sword, so I am unable to swat it. Thoughts of failure begin to creep their way into my brief moment of calm.
You'll be stuck here forever. With him.
The fly makes a lunge for my eye, forcing me to blink it out. When I open my eyes again, his corpse has disappeared.
How long was that one?
A putrid voice asks a few feet ahead of me.
Because I was thinking.
He trails off to resume his search for carrion, clearly smelling something nearby. More insects gather around me as he tears into rotting flesh, and I begin the arduous task of reholstering my stupidly heavy sword.
They made the sword heavy to slow you down. They wanted you to fail. You were never meant to return. Just lie down with the rest.
A rest might be nice, I whisper to myself. The ground below me does seem softer, greener.
You're still stuck here, and it's so hot. The ground is cooler. Join the rest.
No, I protest, shaking my head of the thought while the flies and beetles scatter in the process.
You talking to me?
His gory face re-emerging from the grass, spotted with maggots. The weight of my present situation fully dawning on me. I need to keep moving. I continue.
Just give up again. Join your others and feel peace.
My grip on my sword loosens as I begin to let go, feeling cold and paralyzed. Everything slowly fades to black. Suddenly, two green eyes bring distinction to the void. Waking me from my despair, a four-legged creature launches itself up the blade of my sword to snatch a locust off my neck, scratching me in the process. The sound of it crunching its prize behind me reminds me of my own hunger, and my rage takes over. I want out. I want to reach the center. I want to kill him! Strength returns to my arms and I grip my blade tighter, ready to fight.
What will this achieve? Just surrender.
The ease of these words caused me to hesitate. The small dark creature, now on my shoulder, smacked its paws together and caught a spider hanging from my ear. My resolve returned. I lifted my blade high, feeling all of my muscles burn with the weight. I screamed out my hesitations
I won't stop!
and swung it down, feeling it cut the space around me. The hot, dry air was washed away with the sudden influx of a cool night's breeze. Like a tear in the bottom of a bag, the force of the world outside tore this slice wider, opening it up to a starry night atop a hill, and the endless day was enveloped by this new reality. Exhaustion and the sudden shift in temperature made it hard to catch my breath. The creature, still hungry, launched itself off my shoulder to chase a firefly nearby.
Ooh, look, a puppy.
That all too familiar voice announced.
Hey, where'd all my food go? Also, where are we?
It's a cat, you idiot. I dropped my sword and fell to the ground drained. And my guess, it's the summit of the second hill.
Really? That was pretty easy.
Sure, I simply replied, knowing full well it almost got me.
212 bullets remain.